Hello and welcome to the book thing. My name is Mark, and today I am taking advantage of the fact that we still have some nice sunny weather here in North Wales for a change, and I am going to take part in the great BookTube tradition that is the mid-year freakout tag. First one I've done of these because it's my first couple of months on BookTube, and I am pulling these questions from Once Upon a Bookish Steph. I'll put a link to her channel down below. She was the first one I saw doing it this year, and so I'm lifting the questions from her. So thanks for that, Steph. And I'm going to go through these and see how we get on. Okay, so best book so far this year, for me, that was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Ken Kesey. I've been a massive fan of the film for years. I think the cast and acting in that film, the creation of one of the best villains in movie history of Nurse Ratched is incredible, and I wanted to check out the book, and it did not disappoint. It was quite different from the film in some ways, because it was all from the perspective of the chief, who was very much an unreliable narrator, and also someone who is clearly suffering from delusions himself. But it was, yeah, well worth the read. Thoroughly enjoyed it. There are some outdated use of language in there. It was written in the 60s. That's unfortunately a bit of a fact of life with some older books. But if you're able to try not to look at it with modern eyes too much, then it is absolutely a wonderful read, and I would highly recommend it. Question 2, best sequel so far this year. That has got to be The Dark Forest, the second part in the Three Body Problem series this year. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Had an absolutely fantastic conclusion. Yeah, it was that was killer. Really enjoyed that one. Number 3, a new release that I have not read but want to. If you've seen any of the books that I talk about in these videos, I don't think any of them have been released in the last 10 years, never mind the last few months. So I'm really bad at keeping up with what's current. Probably either You Like It Darker by Stephen King or The Narrow Road Between Desires by Patrick Rothfuss. I know it's an update of a novella he's already done, but I haven't read that either, so I'll definitely try. I definitely want to check that one out. Number 4, most anticipated release for the rest of the year. I would say probably the Stormlight Archive, Book 5, which is Wind and Truth, the latest one from Brandon Sanderson. So from what I understand, that wraps up the first cycle of his Stormlight Archive books, and they are pretty incredible, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he concludes this period of his Stormlight Archive history. As well as that, probably In Too Deep by Lee Child. I'm a sucker for a Jack Reacher book. I never get tired of them. Okay, my biggest disappointment this year, I'm going to go back to the Three Body Problem and say the third part, Death's End. I did talk about this in my wrap-up for May, about how much I was disappointed by that one. But yeah, the wounds have not yet healed on that one. Number 6, the biggest surprise of the year. That would be The Trees by Percival Everett, and it was a surprise because I was going into it thinking it was going to be very highbrow, but what it actually was hilarious, and yeah, I love that one, and it was a massive surprise for me. Okay, favorite new author. That I would have to say is Dennis E. Taylor, the author of the Bobiverse books. That had been recommended to me by a friend. I picked it up, and I was anticipating just reading the first one and then maybe coming back to some of the follow-ups later on, but I burned through the first 3 over the space of a few weeks. Yeah, I really enjoyed those. Okay, number 8, newest fictional crush. It's a tough one for me. I'm tempted to skip this. I don't really get sort of whole fictional crush things. and actually of the female protagonists in the books that I read this year, like Tress of the Emerald Sea, or Esther in the Bell Jar, or Antoinette in White Sargasso Sea. What I feel for them is more paternal. I think that's what happens when you're a father of daughters, is that you want to look after them and protect them rather than anything else beyond that. I'd say the closest thing I probably came to was the character of Frederica White, which was in the David Baldacci book Long Shadows. She is the newest partner of the irascible Amos Decker. And she was just a really cool character. She was ass-kicking, she was a single mom, she was extraordinarily good at her job. She didn't take any of Decker's crap. Yeah, she was a great character. If I was to have a fictional crush, possibly her. Question number 9, my new favourite character. I am going to go from the book Strumpet City. Now, I've talked about this a couple of times on the channel already, but that is an Irish novel set at the early part of the 20th century, and it's a very social novel about poverty in Dublin at that time. And my favourite character in that is the person who's probably at the lowest social class in it, a character called Rasher's Tierney, who is this good-natured old tramp who is trying to make his way in a city that is very unkind to him, and he was a genuinely lovable character. Number 10, a book that made you cry. I don't really cry that often. I'd say the one that came closest was, again, Strumpet City, possibly White Sargasso Sea, but yeah, it takes a special kind of gut punch to actually make the waterworks open up for me. So those two came close, I think, but yeah, only close. Number 11, a book that made you happy. That would be the first book in the Bobiverse book, which was We Are Legion, We Are Bob. It was just so much fun, and it was just a joyful book to read. Number 12, the most beautiful book that I've bought so far this year. I have very consciously left Discworld off of this list because, you know, otherwise my list would be peppered with just Discworld books. But the one I'm going to have to go with is the illustrated copy of Eric that I managed to pick up secondhand. This is published in about 1990 and has some absolutely beautiful illustrations from Josh Kirby, who just had his art style, even though it is not necessarily true to what Pratchett wrote, is just so energetic and so full of life that yeah, it's a really enjoyable one, that is the most beautiful one I've picked up this year. And number 13, what books do I need to read by the end of the year? How long have you got? Okay, well, top of my list has got to be The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I have had that on my TBR for quite some time now, and I really, really want to get into that one. And it's been put off for far too long at this point. I really fancy reading In Ascension by Martin McInnes. That looks like a really interesting book as well. I have got a few series that I want to read the first part of, which may lead me into reading more parts of it, but I'm certainly interested in reading the first part of at least some of these, so including The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie, Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer, Wool by Hugh Howey. I want to read Oryx and Crake by Margaret Atwood, which is the first part of her Mad Adam trilogy. I think it's Mad Adam, I'm not sure. Some other standalones I wanted to read, The Ferryman by Justin Cronin. I want to read Visit from the Goon Squad by Jennifer Egan. And one that my father's been hassling me to read for many years is Germinal by Emile Zola. He says that's fantastic, so I will have to pick that one up as well. There's a couple of non-fiction ones I want to do as well. I want to revisit Adventures in the Screen Trade by William Goldman. I kind of dabbled into it a couple of years ago and never finished it, but it was really, really good. So William Goldman was the writer of The Princess Bride, and he's written a whole load of really famous Hollywood screenplays as well, things like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and stuff like that. So, and his book is supposed to be absolutely hilarious, and his follow-up, Which Lie Did I Tell, is also supposed to be fantastic. And so I'm at least going to try and read the first one this year. The other one I wanted to read non-fiction was Roger Moore's biography, My Word Is My Bond, because apparently he's a great raconteur and tells some fantastic Hollywood stories. And the final one might be a bit of a surprise, but it's a book called Have a Nice Day by Mick Foley. And I imagine most of the people on here don't know who Mick Foley is, but he was a very famous professional wrestler. And unlike most professional wrestlers who've got books out, he actually wrote this one himself rather than having a ghost written, and it's supposed to be very, very funny and very, very insightful as well. He's a really interesting guy, and so I want to get around to reading that book as well. And that pretty much sums up my mid-year tag. I want to just say a big thank you for everyone who over the last couple of months has made me feel very, very welcome on BookTube. Thank you very much, those of you who've watched, liked, commented and subscribed. It has been, you know, I came into this with no real ambitions or no real expectations of what would happen, and you know, I had never anticipated getting any subscribers, let alone the couple of dozen subscribers that I've got. So, you know, 20 odd subscribers doesn't sound like a lot in the grand scheme of things, but you guys, you make me feel like Joe Rogan, so thanks a million for that. And looking forward to seeing what we can do over the next couple of months as well. In the meantime, thanks very much for watching. Take care.